Hello and welcome to the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast, brought to you by Panther Tyres, as we are each and every week. We really appreciate the Panther Tyres support, bringing you this podcast. We are back on Zoom. For those of you who are listening and watching and checking out some of the video of this, please don't, because we're all looking super stylish right now. We are back on Zoom because just making sure that the footy club is all separated and worked out so that we can get back in there, I think, next week. We're just doing all the right things with restrictions from Melbourne and all that sort of stuff. So we are coming to you via Zoom. But I do have my regular with me, Mathew Stokes and Scotty Gullan. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever we're up to both of you.
Hello, Cameron.
Good morning, Cameron.
Morning, Mathew. Always lovely to see you. Let's get straight into the game. We're going to talk to Brian Cook, the CEO of the Cats, in just a second. We're going to talk the fixture a little bit later on, Scotty, so just hold off on the footy bonanza that we've got coming up. Let's go straight to the Thursday night game, Geelong versus Collingwood. Unfortunately, it did not go to plan. Collingwood, to their credit, were fantastic. Stokesy, what happened? Why weren't we able to get anything rolling against the Pies?
Oh, my heart broke when I just watched Joel Selwood go for that ground ball and do his string. I think, with Mitch Duncan already out and Quinton Narkle, I think it was a pretty gallant fight from the Geelong Food Club. I think the players dug deep, considering that, Joel went out, I think, in the first 10 minutes of the game. I think we definitely were outplayed. I think Collingwood looked like the better team, and moving it forward, they looked a lot dangerous with their smaller forwards, and especially Jordan De Goey having a night out. But it wasn't a great result. But I think in the circumstances of everything that's going on, Collingwood are going through the same thing. But with Joel, their captain, and inspiration going down early on, I think it was still a pretty good effort by the boys to be able to be within distance of them in the last quarter.
It felt like in the moment, or there were moments where, okay, this could be Geelong's moment. And so often that has been Joel, who then grasps that moment and sends the Cats on a bit of a run and maybe gets them going again. With him down, just wasn't that person that Joel's done so magnificently for over 300 games. Scotty, Collingwood, as close as it got, they were the better team on the night.
Yeah, and with Collingwood, as we're finding, it's always low-scoring affairs, like defensively, very tight contests. I mean, really, one guy was the difference, De Goey. I mean, Geelong were battling well, like you said, and then Jordan Clark went down. That was heartbreaking for the kids. So 2 down on the bench, and you're trying to surge. I thought it was a pretty good effort against the team. They're a top-form team. They're a genuine Premiership hope. So I wouldn't be too concerned. I mean, what the concern is the injury toll that's sort of mounting quickly at the Cats.
Well, on that, quickly, Clark, Selwood out. Hearing Duncan, Tom Stewart.
Possible. Yeah. Tom Stewart and Duncan are possibilities. And obviously we've got Gary Ablett, as we know, has left and come home, so he'll be missing as well. And then, as we'll talk a bit later about what's coming, we're going to see Chuka and all his mates. We're going to see lots of players. I'm
excited about that. Stokesy, we flagged it, or you flagged it, last week on the podcast, and I did see it in the paper. The name of Mackay Cockatoo was mentioned. You said get him in last week. Didn't happen. Is it this week?
I bloody hope so. That break, I think. And then also, too, you've got to really worry about, we're playing, we'll get to it a bit later on, but we're playing 14 games in, 4 games in 14 days.
14 days, yeah.
So I don't think there's going to be too much of a chance to be able to play him in that. We've got an 11-day break. We're playing against Fremantle over there. It's going to be quite difficult. We need some excitement. We need some the team to feel something, a little bit extra motivation over there. And I think he could bring that. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen him train or where he's at with all that. But if he's getting through full games in those trials, we can sort of limit the amount of time that he gets on the field. I think he could be just what the club needs in the sense of the feel-good story about going through this hub situation, being away from home. The Cocky to get back out there in the blue and white hoops would be extraordinary to watch. So, and then with Miss Duncan, I mean, I know that we need our best players out there because we need to bank the wins as much as we can. But I'm really concerned that we've got this block of games coming through. We're bringing blokes in. Are we bringing them back? Normally a hamstring would always be 21 days, no matter what or who you were. So you don't know the ins and outs of it, but surely there'd be a no-risk policy when it comes to injured guys coming back.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. One of the positives, I suppose, of the night continues to be the form of Cameron Guthrie, who's would it be fair to say probably his best, most impactful, it's now half season that he's produced. He's played some really good footy, experienced player now, but I just feel that each week he's very, very impactful through that middle of the ground, finding the footy, kicking goals, doing it all. He was terrific against Stokesy.
Look, I think he was obviously one of our shining lights in the game, but I think what we need is he's kind of being able to take the game on and his foot skills. We need to up the ground a little bit more. That's the one thing I would say, that he was kicking out a lot. He was playing on in the back lines and getting those release marks and kicks, which is great because we actually need that link man in the team. But where we break down, and we continue to break down this year, is our entries inside forward 50. And also with little fun.
Finally, the kids are going to make a cameo. We've been after this.
Zoom. I hate Zoom. He hasn't missing for the next 4 weeks. We do need that polish moving inside forward 50. So I just think that sometimes we should have the run and carry from Shark O'Connor, and we need Jake Colladasny to be able to run and carry, and John Clark would have given us that little bit of exposure in the back line to be able to run and carry and get it. But the thing I would say with Cam Guthrie last week was the fact that he was getting him back inside for defensive 50.
The beauty of him, Lingy, is that the last couple of seasons he's had a cracking game, been best on, and then sort of goes back to just a role player for a couple of weeks. I agree with you. This season, it's like every week he's at a different, elite-ish level, which is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, part of a midfield that was badly beaten on the night. I mean, Treloar, Pendlebury, Adams, Phillips, Crisp. I know Crisp was off half-back, but these players had the number over the Cats, and then because of the dominate, or not total domination, but they certainly had the advantage through there. It gave Jordan De Goey a really good look at the footy so often, and he was superb. He's now out for 6 or 8 weeks with a finger operation, it sounds so simple, a finger injury, but not good news for him. We're going to take a break. The CEO of the Cats, Brian Cook, is going to join us in a second. We're going to get to all the fixture news a little bit later.
And umpiring, Cameron. And umpiring.
Oh, I know
one of our friends.
Umpiring.
Where's Scott?
There was
Cookie
a
won't
stat.
want to talk umpiring. We will not talk it in the next segment. Maybe we'll get to that in segment 3. We'll be back in just a second.
Cats fans, the Cats Shop GMHBA Stadium flagship store is back open. Visit the team to get your blue and white fix with new arrivals and heaps of winter stock to keep you warm. Plus, the huge mid-year sale is still on with up to 50% off stock. While you're there, why not grab a coffee or meal from Charles & Co Cafe too? Head to the Cats Shop at GMHBA Stadium. Visit shop.geelongcats.com.au for opening hours. Go Cats!
Welcome back. It's good to have you with us on To the Final Bell, brought to you by Panther Tyres. It's an absolute pleasure now to welcome our next guest, the CEO, the Chief of the Geelong Cats, Brian Cook. Cookie, welcome to you.
Hello, Lingy and Scotty and Stokes. Good to see all your wonderful faces.
Stokesy wants to grill you with lots of questions, Cookie. He's just going to fire them at you.
Oh, that's okay.
I'll get the first one out of the way. Where do we find you right now? Where's quarantine life for you?
I'm in room 315 at the Crown Promenade. And there's a group of 79 of us here in Perth, which is pretty much the entire playing squad, apart from Gary Ablett, and then the Gullan footy staff. So I've jumped on board and gone for the ride. It's been a hell of a journey. We're in sort of as a tight ISO routine here, and it's quite claustrophobic here. We've taken over the Ground Promenade, 2 floors of accommodation here, as well as about 6 rooms on the ground floor for eating and for recreation. And we have a little green zone, we call it. We have to walk through a corridor surrounded by two fences that we can't get in or out of. And we find our way to a green oval, and it's about 400 metres around, and we muck around there. So that's basically been our life apart from games and training. When we train, we jump on a bus, we drive into where we're training, and we train and we come home. So basically, when we're not training and playing, we're at the hotel. That's it. That's our life at the moment.
Who'd be thriving in that environment, Stokesy, do you reckon? Do you want to take a guess?
Cookie would go pretty well on this, I reckon. Hiding in 301, I reckon that would suit him to a T. I think some of the players, I think Corky would, he'd love it. He'd just be getting room service to his house, to his room. But I think the golf part would be killing him. Obviously, Cookie loves his swimming, so you haven't been able to get to swim to Rottnest at all during this time?
No, not this time, mate. No, there's a pool here we're allowed to use, but it's only I've been deciding whether it's 15 or 16 metres. It's somewhere in between, I reckon.
How many strokes is it for you?
It's 6.5 strokes each arm. So there's not much in it. I make sure I don't do a big tumble turn, otherwise I won't get the 6 strokes in. But the other day I did 150 strokes. 150 laps. I've been doing about 100, 120, but I pulled out a big one, 150 the other day, and I got pretty dizzy because the water is so cold. There's no heating in this pool. It's about 11 degrees. And the players will only jump into hip height. They won't do anything. They won't go under the water. I haven't seen a player go under the water yet. And so I was dizzy, and I didn't know whether it was because just doing laps or whether it was I was so cold. So that's my exercise. I do that. I try to do something every day, and every player's, of course, doing their training, and so the staff are doing something as well. So we all find something to do.
What about mentally, Cookie? I mean, they've got to do this again when they go over to the Gold Coast. I mean, what do you say to these guys to keep them? I suppose you've got to throw things at them to keep them active and amused, but it must be very tough.
Yeah, I think it is tough for the young fellas. It's interesting. I think what you find and what is probably the case in other clubs is that the younger players are coping pretty well. The food is put on for them. They don't spend a cent. No one spends any money here. And they get together and they play cards and do all sorts of things. I think it's more the more senior players who have families that are the ones that are really trying to make it work and trying really hard. And they're always on the phone to their families back home, Facebooking or whatever the case may be, FaceTiming, sorry. And so that's the toughest part. Now they will be coming up to Queensland. I think we've got about, at this stage, partners and children, I think about 25 to 30 coming up. So that's going to help out a lot. Having said that, being away for something like 10 or 11 weeks is just a tough ask. We never expected this, and I don't think anyone sort of rehearsed this in any way or got ready for it, prepared for this type of length of isolation. So, look, it's hard, mate. You're right. You're right, Scotty, it is.
We know what the fixture is now from rounds 9 to 12. It's something like we've never seen before in the AFL. What's the club's reaction to the Cats draw?
Oh, we thought it was pretty tough draw for us, particularly 4 games in 14 days. But we've just got to do our bit, like everyone else has. We're not the only one doing this. It's a strange season. You're going to find that we're going to play, out of our 17 games, I think 13 interstate, 3, maybe 3 in Geelong and 1 in Melbourne, whereas you might find some other clubs the other way around. So it's a really, intriguing season. It's a season where we just have to finish off. Players understand that they play an important role at the survival of the industry right now. If we weren't playing games, I think we'd all be worried about, our finances and where it's all heading, and particularly given we don't know what's going to happen early next year, if we're going to have crowds or not. So, there's a lot riding on the backs of the players, and they've been outstanding throughout all of this. But it is a tough draw, mate. It is a tough draw for us, as it is for most clubs.
And Cookie, you're really a people's person. In this time, I can't imagine some of the nights of discussion that you've had. from for me working upstairs, you can worry and focus on one area, and the coaches and the players are focusing on winning games and getting through. Someone like you, CEO obviously of our footy club and the face of it, how are you dealing with trying to, I guess, figure out all of it? The people side, the winning and losing side, the finances side, and then also getting our clubs through this. How are you going with that? And are you holding up all right?
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. Look, it's been a challenge, to say the least. This is an issue which is it's Australia wide. And within our footy club, it goes through the 7 departments, our 120 staff, our players, our supporters, our sponsors. So it affects everyone, and you just have to have so much empathy for people's situations, really, and just try and help people through this. And the other thing you must do, I found, is you've got to trust your troops. You've got to trust your lieutenants through this, because no one really has all the answers, or sometimes none of the answers to these issues that are coming up every day for us. And I found I've just had to trust my people and make them make really important decisions. But it's going to be tough, because there's going to be a leaner world in footy next year, and a lot of decisions have to be made. They will be made, and a lot of people are going to be affected, including their families and friends. So dealing with these things is not easy, and you really are depending upon your people to make sure they do the right thing as well.
You mentioned Gary earlier, Cookie. What an amazing, tough decision he faced, but he seems pretty determined to, in a month or whenever he's ready, to get back and win a premiership with this team.
Yeah, he does. He needed to go home for his own reasons, but he's determined to play again this year. He wants to play up in Queensland. We have to work through with the state government, the AFL, how that all will work and what sort of quarantining he might have to go through. But he is very keen, and I think he will play up there again and play for the Cats. He's so determined to finish his year with a premiership. He was saying to all the boys the other day in front of everyone, which we loved and respected.
Cookie, going back to what Stokesy was talking about a little bit, as CEO, you've had to work through the unknown so much. The numbers early on, I know you came out and spoke about this in the media, were terrifying for the club, and the debts, and if members didn't stay on board, what that would mean for the football club. It appears as though the numbers have got better bit by bit as the time's gone on, because of so many wonderful people. Can you give our listeners a bit of an update how the club is standing at the moment and coping with the financial hit?
You've just frozen there, Cameron. Yeah, no, the financial hit has... it's all right, mate. I got most of that. I think you're talking about the finances of the footy club. Yeah, look, we felt that we might come in about $10 million down, $10 million loss. And what we think will happen right now is we're certainly going to be down, but it's going to be, a couple of million, I think, maybe 3, say anywhere between 1.5 and 3 million right now. And the major reason for that is because the sponsors and particularly our members have let us retain their revenues. And I think at the moment we've been able to retain, from a membership point of view, around somewhere between 80 and 85%, which is amazing, really. And really, it points to how loyal and how dedicated and, how dedicated to the cause our people are. And so I was so thrilled by that, because it's given us a chance, It's still, it's still a difficult place to be, because from a financial point of view, because if you look at all of our revenues overall, which includes matches and AFL dividends and sponsors and members, we're actually down 50% in revenue. We're only bringing in half of our revenue, but because we've cut our costs to unbelievably at the moment, we're able to manage. But if we didn't have that 50%, primarily all from our members and our sponsors, then we would be in real strife. So that's how the finances are. At the moment, we're looking okay. We're going to sell off the Brook, our gaming facility, when it opens. Hopefully that will give us some dollars that, unfortunately, we were hoping that would be a futures fund for us for other revenue raising ideas, but we'll probably need to use that for our operations. So that'll keep us away from having to go to the AFL and ask for their assistance further. So we haven't taken a dollar out of the AFL yet, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we may not have to do that.
We're just losing you there for a second, Cookie.
If things, but sorry, say it again.
We just lost you then for a second.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I said I'm really worried that we haven't got a vaccination and what that means for the longer term. But that's something that we can't control. But it is an issue.
Have you fallen back in love? Not that you have. I can't say that you fell out of love, but have you fallen back in love with footy in a sense of what people in this industry, in our great club, our supporters, and like you said, the members, our sponsors, the generosity and being able to come together for a cause to not only just keep footy alive, but in general. Obviously, with some of the workers that have been done at our footy club in a sense of stand downs. There's some guys who are getting paid for 1 day, 2 days, or doing 5 and 6 days of work. Has it made you appreciate how good we have that, Geelong?
Yeah, what has made me appreciate, mate, is the relationships that Geelong Football Club has throughout, in particular our members and our sponsors and our donors. It's been quite a heartening and reinforcing experience over the past 4 or 5 months. It makes me, believe in humanity again more than anything, and the goodwill of people and the generosity of people. We were expecting to get around about $1 million from all of our donors this year as part of their 5-year commitments. They provide some money each year. We've actually got 1.1 million. So we actually, people gave us small. I thought that some people might drop out, and for good cause and good reasons. But what we've found is those very generous, high yield supporters we have who provide generous donations, they've given more. The membership, 85% have said keep the money. Sponsorship, around about 60% of the dollars that we get we've kept, which is amazing. There's no games at GMHBA. So I think that's a reflection, an extension of the goodwill amongst our people, and probably is a sign of the relationships we've all developed over the past 2 or 3 decades, I think, which you'd be very aware of, Stokesy, whether it's the Captain's Club or the Coaches Club, the Ling, the Captain's Club, the Coaches Club, the season seat holders, the Pivotonians, they've just been amazing, really. The box holders, for goodness sake, how could box holders say keep money? Sorry, how are we going to replace what we do for you? And so we've had those discussions. About half the box holders have said keep the money, and the other half said keep the money, but give us we'll use it for next year. So it's been good.
Cookie, just big picture, a lot of debate about where the grand final/finals will be played. Are you in the Queensland's doing so much for the game, maybe it should be there, or where's your head with regards to GF and finals?
Yeah, I'm not strong on this one. I haven't got a strong opinion.
The stadium over there is a pretty nice one.
It's a nice one, yeah. The commercialisation sort of sticks out to me. I'd ask for expression of interest and see which is the best deal. You might get deals which involve development of junior competitions, AFL women's competitions, all sorts of things. But I'd be looking at more than simply getting finance out of the grand final itself. I'd be looking at state governments doing other things for football in order to be given the grand final.
Cookie, we better leave it there. We could talk to you all day long, and I think certainly from mine and Stokes' perspective as past players, knowing that this club is in the absolute best possible hands through a time that is the most difficult and uncertain in the AFL's history, We really appreciate what you're doing, what all your staff are doing, and having a chat with us here today. Thank you, Cookie.
No, it's a pleasure, gents.
Thanks, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Cookie.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Cats fans, the Cats Shop GMHBA Stadium flagship store is back open. Visit the team to get your blue and white fix with new arrivals and heaps of winter stock to keep you warm. Plus, the huge mid-year sale is still on with up to 50% off stock. While you're there, why not grab a coffee or meal from Charles & Co Cafe too? Head to the Cats Shop at GMHBA Stadium. Visit shop.geelongcats.com.au for opening hours. Go Cats!
Welcome back. You're with us on To the Final Bell, brought to you by Panther Tyres. Check out the guys at Panther Tyres. You need anything for your cars, give them a call. Check out their website and go down and see them. Also, big thanks to Deakin University. Digital is in Deakin University's DNA with 40 years of experience in distance and online learning. Discover why they're the #1 Australian public university for overall educational experience. Premium, proven, loved. Study online at Deakin. I'm about to start studying online, Stokesy. Make sure I can get a job next year when all the craziness of footy washes out. I might be working for you, Mathew. Please employ me. I'll be a labourer. I'll be whatever you want me to be.
I'd love to see you labouring, actually. Oh, you actually did early in your career to get fit?
He's labouring 2 years, and I'm pretty keen not to go back to doing that sort of thing. It basically broke me, but I made it through.
Be a lot of zinc cream being used there, Cameron, I suggest. A lot of covering up Scotland. Of your beautiful skin.
Yes, you're right. Currently, this downlight that's in this room is not doing a lot for me. It's probably giving me a little bit of sunburn just by being a downlight. Scotty, let's get to the announcement on the fixture. We chatted briefly with Cookie about it. So, it is 33 games in 20 days. For the Cats, it's 4 games, 15 days.
Yes,
that's a packed schedule.
It's a dream for us who love sitting on the couch and indulging, because every night you're going to be watching AFL. The Cats, as Cookie said, it's tough. So they play West Coast on a Saturday, then they move over
after they've played Fremantle on the Monday.
Yes, so there's a small break.
That's a short break, yeah.
Then 4 days later, they're playing Queensland. So they've got to fly, get into a new hotel, and then play within 2 or 3 days. Then they've got St Kilda at the Gabba 5 days later, and then Port Adelaide at the Gabba 4 days later. It's unbelievable. I mean, Collingwood have got one less day for their 4 games, but Geelong and Collingwood have absolutely copped it.
They have, and they will be out of the strict quarantine, but as in the state quarantines, but they will still be subject to the AFL protocols, which are stricter than. I suppose they're what Melburnians are currently going through, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Cookie sort of explained it. You can go get a takeaway coffee. You can't sit in. You can only go play golf with one other person. You can only ever be
with one other person.
Yes.
Isn't that right? Yeah.
Go to the beach, one other person. So it's not an easy life, but imagine the turnover. I mean, this is where your high performance and you're going to play. Can a player possibly play all 4? There you go. How many of your team could play? Key defenders, maybe, if they don't have Tom Hawkins, possibly.
Maybe. But, we're seeing the soft tissue injuries mounting already. Narkle and Duncan, Selwood. There's soft tissues going left, right and centre across the league.
Across the league, absolutely.
Everywhere. But the Cats now, if you bring, Stokesy flagged it before, if you bring Duncan back for this game,
it's a risk.
Then it's a risk. You'd think that Duncan has to rest during that time again if he's got any question mark on soft tissue. I mean, Tom Stewart comes back in. That's a bone one, so that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'd imagine we see, and I'm not just saying this because I want him, but we've got to see Fogarty, Constable. We'll probably see Cooper Stevens. We'll see nearly all of the squad used. Is that your thoughts, Stokesy?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I would even go a little bit further too to think maybe we rest a couple of players this week. We've got 11-day break in between games. So maybe you give a Paddy or a Hawk guys who shoulder a lot of our load. And I understand that you're taking away some bloody good players, but it's going to happen eventually. So we've got 11-day breaks into Collingwood, and obviously the 4 or 5-day break until, West Coast. So if we can give them a massive amount of spell, now that we know that's coming, could it be that you give, a few of the players, a week off their feet, where they just do some bike sessions and get prepared for the block coming.
Can I throw an alternate theory at you though, Stokesy?
Yep.
And it's not to shoot down your one necessarily that you've thrown up there, but I heard some commentary about pick a game that the Cats are going to win and rest all your really good players.
Well, that's North Melbourne.
North Melbourne was the one that was thrown up given all their injuries. I would have thought, given the uncertainty of this season, how compact everything is, the fact that the Cats aren't, the number one team in the competition, they're amongst a group who are battling for top 4. You almost need to the should-win games, and call that probably Fremantle and North Melbourne, maybe St Kilda, though. They're playing some really good footy in that group. You almost should play your whole team in those to guarantee wins. Or there's no such thing as a guarantee, but give yourself the best chance of winning the games you should win.
So you want to lay down against the good teams?
No, not necessarily, but be clever with leaving 1 or 2 out in a West Coast or a Port Adelaide. I mean, you're not conceding those, but you wouldn't want to say we're going to beat North Melbourne, therefore we'll leave out 6 really good players and then lose to North.
Yeah.
No, I know your theory.
I hear what you're saying. I also too think that you've got to take out who you're playing out of the equation a little bit, I reckon. Now, from a sports science and from managing your people, I think it goes away from who you're playing. I think I think that comes second, to be honest.
Purely physiology, what their bodies are like.
Yeah.
What about, can I ask, as former players, you've probably played off, 5-day break every now and again. How can players get their heads around this? I mean, you wouldn't be training, would you? You'd basically recover and then play again.
Stokesy, would you agree with this? 1 5-day break is not an issue.
No.
You recover, you get up, you play, your mind's ready for it, and you do it. It'll be the second and third short break. Yeah,
100%. And I think Scotty, we're really quick to whack our players, like in a sense of complaining if they're, what they're getting in these hubs and how much money is being spent. But I think seeing this fixture and like exactly what you spoke about, Ling, about the 5-day break, once it's pretty easy. Then do it again and again and again. I think for once we need to just say thank you to our players for putting themselves through this, because like Cookie explained to us in the restrictions they have in these hubs, if it wasn't for our players being able to say, yeah, we can do this and suck it up. I haven't had too many complaints. To be able to go through this and save our industry and a lot of the people in it, I think it's, for once, we just turn around and instead of it going, but it's their job, but they're getting paid money, I think we just turn around and say, thanks.
And as part of that, Stokesy, is it just we be a little bit more accepting? And the media, and I'm part of that, has been extremely vocal over the last few weeks about the state of the game, how poor the games are, the skills, the low scoring. Is this the year where we just say, hang on a second, they're not training, they're doing no contact training, they're living in hubs, they're not getting the normal recovery, they're not doing, the state of the game is going to be, the quality of the game is going to be less than other seasons. Can we cut them some slack this season, of all seasons?
Oh, please do. I think, I'm a bit old school in a sense of you just get on with it, and we've spoken about before, Lingy, that our players these days are given a hell of a lot. They don't train as much as, maybe back in the day, or, talking about the games aren't ugly to watch. I just think sometimes you do need to sometimes be positive about the outlook of what we're going through. And they're giving us a product on TV that we can get away from our lives and watch for 2 hours and enjoy. Maybe it's just a glimpse of what it used to be like in a sense of just loving footy. But, I mean, even what I've heard of some of the stories of what the players are going through, I just can't fathom going through that. And then having to back up for the next, the next 19 days are going to be crazy. So to be able to get through that, I think it's unless a commentator or media a journalist goes and does exactly what they're going through, I don't think we can judge. Scotty Gullan, I don't know how you go 1 to 4 wars.
Wow.
You probably actually like it, actually. You'd probably get food delivered every...
Oh, yeah, mate. I could comfortably live in a hub away from the world.
Yeah.
Very happy with that.
Take you out of the equation, but everyone else...
You can go and do it for this podcast, Scotty, and you can report back to us.
Roving mind.
Anyone who saw the end to the Port Adelaide Carlton game,
oh,
that's just a little reminder of how fun footy can be. The Port Adelaide had blown it with the missed shots. Then it goes down the other end. It's within centimetres of the Carlton winning goal, Cunningham on the run. Then it goes down the other end, and Robbie Gray, he's given off a handball when he shouldn't have, and then he missed the other goal, and then he goes and nails it from the boundary, and the emotion and happiness of the players piling on top of him. Footy's a bloody fun game. Be positive about it. I'm with you, Stokesy.
Now, umpiring, Cameron.
No,
we need to talk about it. The AFL has come out and apologised.
That's a
They
first.
apologised to Adelaide and St Kilda, didn't they?
No, they said holding the ball, the umpires have had a mare, and all across the round, there's consistency, confusion everywhere, Cameron. Players are thinking about it before they get the ball.
Before the players start talking about what the umpires are doing as well, maybe if they want to get a little bit of slack cut, let's get a little bit of let's stick up for the umpires a little bit. They're in the same boat as players.
No, I know that. They're going through the similar
train as much as they used to. They can't go through footage.
But hang on, I'll stick up for the umpires, not for that reason. The AFL that's instructed them to change the way they're interpreting a rule mid-season and have made it extremely difficult, and already extremely difficult game to umpire, harder.
Alistair Clarkson instructed them to.
He's got.
The AFL didn't have to react.
Correct.
When that little man runs through AFL House, people listen. Don't worry about that. He walks in with his hat backwards, his tracky pants on baggy, and everyone listens to Clarko.
He's the best coach in the AFL, no question about that right now. So, yeah, listen to him, but don't react to this one thing around a rule and then go and dump it on your umpires and say, by the way, I know some of you are locked in hubs. Most of you can't train. We can't actually coach this. Go and change the way that you're looking at these decisions. Good luck to the umpires.
I know, but it's like they lose the common sense. I always come back to common sense. We all see if a player tries to break one tackle and can't, that's prior opportunity. We get that. Yeah. If he drops the ball or throws it, that's incorrect. We get that. But as soon as he gets it,
had prior opportunity.
Correct. As soon as he gets it and two blokes jump on him, just plead to the umpy and it goes for 15 seconds, it's like, yeah, got ya. I mean, come on. That's the problem.
Are you talking about common sense too, like how some of your fellow media outlet people are talking about Petrarca being number one player now?
Oh, better than Dusty. Better than Dusty.
Well, until you do it in a grand final or in the finals, you don't even you don't go near Dusty.
I believe Shane Crawford, one of your former playing partners, came up with that. Extraordinary comment.
I like stirring Robbo up at the best of times, but nailed it beautifully with his article that just followed up and said, yes, Petrarca is playing wonderful footy, but just pump the brakes a bit. What was that stat? Out of the 9 finals they've played in the last 3 years, he's been best on ground or second best on ground in 7 of those, including 2 Norm Smith medals.
Yeah, I think that says it all, doesn't it?
Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you, Dusty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to see Petrarca playing with freedom, and he'd be in the top 5 players who are in form right now. But let the kid keep going.
I called that game for 7 on Sunday, and I was loving what he's doing because I could see it was almost of 5 or 6 years ago, where that realization that you are just better than a lot of the other players, and you can see Petrarca's now so confident with his strength. The tackler, and Gaz went through it way back. Tacklers became irrelevant to Gary. Just look at them, you go, I'm going to fend you and I'm going to step you. And if at worst, maybe one of you sort of grab one of my jumpers, I'm still going to be standing there and just dish it off to a teammate and away we go. You're never, ever going to get a hold of me and actually catch me. beautiful to see that mindset switch. So I'm excited about Petrarca, but yeah, there's only a few who deserve to be in that dusty upper echelon right now.
And even watching, I think Scotty Pendlebury, watching him on Thursday night, just reminds a few just how important he is. I mean, that little part where, Geelong was coming, his poise and his ability to find space when there isn't any space, and be able to put a handball in a position where his teammates able to run onto it and be able to deliver forward, I think showed. There's a few people in front of Petrarca. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a superstar, but we are 8 rounds into a season, or 9.
Correct.
So, let's just chill.
Good call. We better leave it there. Actually, one last thought. Monday night, Fremantle, Geelong.
Fremantle aren't too bad. Fife's not playing, though. Fremantle are a decent team. Michael Walters is, he captained them on... They had half a chance against West Coast, the Surge, and they kept missing easy shots. So, it's a danger game, big time.
It is. Stewart comes back. We think Duncan comes back. We don't know who else. Stokes is pushing hard for Nakai Cockatoo.
Let him loose.
Let's give us something.
Number 5.
I think Collingwood too. The game against Collingwood showed that we need someone to generate some excitement in our forward 50. We're really lacking in that person who can just sort of create something.
Is Atkins ready? What's happened to him? We've forgotten about Tommy.
I'm surprised any of his bones could break, because I just thought he was made out of concrete.
Exactly.
So I'd assume he wouldn't be too far away.
Yeah.
But the way he plays, he couldn't play possibly with any sort of still breaking those ribs, because he's just a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Fremantle. Michael Walters is just...
unbelievable.
I know we were talking Petrarca and Dusty and all of that. Walters is on form of the last few years, plus this year is still better than Petrarca. We're excited about Petrarca and what he's doing and what he might be, but Michael Walters is a genuine jet.
The key is they got no defenders through injury, so the Tomahawk should kick 10. That's what you got to look at. Geelong need to get it high in, 7 Tomahawk, old traditional game plan, Cameron, not chip around, bomb long to the square. That's what they should do. Did I see
somewhere they said they're looking to speed it up a little bit? We've been calling for that.
Hello.
Yeah, the experts here on to the final bell. We will go. Big thanks to Brian Cook for chatting with us. We'll be back next week. I don't know, Stokes, if we'll be Zooming next week. Hopefully we'll be back in person. It's always much better seeing you guys face to face. I know you love a Zoom.
I hate Zoom. I hate it.
Thank you, Stokesy. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you to Panther Tyres. We will be back next week after the Cats take on the Dockers.